Hi everyone, Paul here from FamilyWheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And my inner 8-year-old is just screaming with glee this week because we're in a vehicle that since 1984 has really held on to its off-roading heritage. It has a lot more of that tooth and attitude that we've seen in SUVs kind of disappear over the years. The likes of that Nissan Pathfinder, for example, that we were in a few weeks ago. Meant to haul family members around, be comfortable on the highway, but its off-roading capabilities have really disappeared over the years as a result. The 4Runner has held true to that, and it's gotten even more hardcore for 2017. Here in Canada, for the first time ever, the TRD Pro package is being offered up. Now, we've already tested the TRD Pro package in the Tundra and the Tacoma, but this is the first SUV-style vehicle in Canada that's treated to this package. Once you strip away this more specialized off-roading package, though, this is basically the same 5th generation 4Runner that's been with us since 2010. So we're not going to be doing any real hardcore off-roading with this package here this week. We leave that to more advanced off-roading sites that are really geared toward that sort of thing. Instead, we're going to pile this thing full of gear, throw some skis in the back, and see how it does for a weekend road trip out into the mountains with all of our family stuff right here this week on Family Wheels. Well, as I already mentioned, the 4Runner hasn't had a total redesign for a while now. It did get a facelift back in 2014. It gave it what I think is a really impressive stance from the outside. I really could look at this car all day long, especially here in this TRD Pro package, because we've got that heritage grille up front. It kind of reminds me of a hybrid somehow between the Lunar Rover, like it's something that should be out in outer space, and my parents' old Land Cruiser from when I was a kid. It was one of those old iron pigs. The thing was a total beast, and I still kind of feel like I'm getting that here in this latest incarnation of the Toyota SUV that we still have on offer here in Canada. Now, all trims of the 4Runner, even here on this TRD Pro, get treated to the same 4-liter V6 engine. It puts out 270 horsepower, and it has a decent amount of pep, but I certainly wouldn't call this a sports car. It doesn't have a lot of oomph, and you can't get this truck with a stick like the Tacoma, so you're stuck with this 5-speed automatic transmission. It is weird to me that the 4Runner is still only available with this 5-speed. When we compare this to the 2017 Raptor that I was testing about a month ago with you on the show, another very off-road oriented and very capable truck, it now has a 10-speed automatic. It shifted really nicely. It helped with fuel efficiency at highway speed. This transmission just seems like it's stuck back in time a little bit, and it means that your fuel efficiency in this 4Runner is not going to be particularly good. Expect around 12.5 to 14 liters per 100 kilometers. We're averaging right in the middle this week, 13 liters per 100 kilometers on a mixture of highway and city roads. But you are getting a lot of other features here in the 4Runner right from the base trim up. The base SR5 here in Canada starts just under $45,000 before tax. You're getting a really excellent 4-wheel drive system that's tried and tested. This is one of the best that's out there. You're getting a tow hitch with 4 and 7-pin wiring harnesses and sway control if you do have a larger trailer that you're towing around. You're getting a 6.1-inch infotainment system that right off the bat includes navigation and a rear backup camera. Also on the base level trim of the 4Runner are these Softex faux leather seats. They're in a lot of Toyota vehicles now, and I really like them because it's a very convincing faux leather product, yet they're very durable. You also get heated front seats, and speaking of seating, 7 passengers worth of seating come on the base trim of this truck too. Strange though, that on the TRD Pro and the TRD Off-Road Package, that's sort of one tier down in terms of its off-road capability, and it replaces the Trail Edition that was around for 2016. Those two trims don't come with 7 passenger seating. This third row is deleted for some reason. Also on the base trim, you're getting a sunroof, you're getting running boards, and you're getting these roof rails up on top, so it's really easy to throw a ski box or a bike rack up there if you're doing a lot of stuff out in the woods. Now let's take a moment to quickly go over what differentiates the TRD Off-Road Package and the TRD Pro Package from the rest of the 4Runner family. If you're looking for a truck that is still very capable off-road, the TRD Off-Road Package might be just the ticket for you. It doesn't have to be quite so hardcore. The Off-Road Package gives you things like this multi-terrain select function right up above me here, where you normally control things like the sunroof, and you can select different types of terrain, things like mud, snow, sand, rock crawling, and the vehicle is going to act differently depending on which, of those selections you've made. Then if you're getting to the really difficult terrain, you can use the crawl control function. And basically this takes you from 1 to 5 kilometers an hour, so it's a fairly slow speed at which you're going to travel, but the truck is slowly going to crawl over all of this nasty, craggy terrain without you having to do much work to get there. So basically all that you're in charge of while using crawl control is steering. It's going to take care of braking, it's going to take care of accelerating. Pretty slick bit of kit, although not everyone is going to be thrilled about this kind of technology, because real hardcore off-roaders might say that it takes away from the challenge of getting back there. Another thing that harkens back to the off-road pedigree of the Toyota brand in these off-road trims is this lever style four-wheel drive selector, kind of throwing back to those days gone by. Speaking of the sort of heritage look, once you get into the TRD Pro package, that's when you get this heritage front grille up front, which I think really makes this truck stand out from the rest of the competition. But it's, the suspension that really makes the TRD Pro package shine. So if you're looking for something that can put up with constant abuse for days on end, if you're going off on big off-roading adventures and that's your idea of a great weekend away, you get Bilstein shocks on board with a remote reservoir suspension kit, which basically helps avoid the suspension frothing up over time and becoming much less effective. You're also getting front springs that have been TRD tuned on the TRD Pro package. You're getting a set of very beefy 31.5-inch off-road oriented tires and these 17.5-inch blacked out aluminum rims. But if this looks a little different to you than the 4Runner TRD Pro in the States, that's because there are a couple of things here in Canada that you don't get on the TRD Pro south of the border. You don't get a sunroof and you don't get running boards if you're shopping for this truck down in the US. One thing that isn't nearly as irksome here in the 4Runner edition of the TRD Pro family is that it's not quite so loud. The exhaust on the Tacoma had been tuned to have this nasty, almost sort of like the muffler had been torn off kind of engine note. The Tundra edition of the TRD Pro family had this big throaty V8 sound, but this is definitely the sort of least aggressive sounding of the three vehicles in the family. It's still not a quiet ride, don't get me wrong. We hit about 66 decibels this week at 100 kilometers an hour using our decibel reader right here, and that is on the noisier end of things, but that kind of comes without saying when you're dealing with a large SUV like this with bigger off-road tires on board. But it's funny, this loud cabin, the kind of harsh, unrefined ride here in the 4Runner, real hardcore cult followers of this vehicle almost wear it as a badge of honor, because there are so many other SUVs out there that have gotten soft around the edges, like that Nissan Pathfinder. We look at this compared to the Toyota Highlander, also in the Toyota family, and they're meant to be much more, comfortable highway cruisers, much more car-like, whereas this is unabashedly still very off-road focused. It's based on the same platform as the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. We still have that same kind of pedigree here in the 4Runner. So if you're looking for things like push-button start and keyless entry and real leather seating surfaces, ventilated front seats, dual-zone automatic climate control, these are all things that you can only get on the limited trim. And I'm sitting here in a $52,000 truck in this TRD Pro package, and there are some things that just seem a little weird to me that I'm missing. Like, I've got these old school style knobs where I can't just set a temperature for the climate control and forget about it. I constantly have to use these knobs to adjust them and figure out the temperature that I want the vehicle to be set at. It doesn't feel particularly well considered. I find this to be the case with a lot of Toyota vehicles. A lot of weird button placements, like where the heated seat knobs are. The heated seat switches also feel like there's something from a much older car, like they got pulled from the parts bin. We have this very granular, old school style digital readout in front of the driver to give you your fuel economy information and that sort of thing. And then if you want to control the windows, the door sills are very high on this truck, which means that my elbow has to be way up here in order for me to actually function these window controls. So in general, I'm not in love with the interior on this truck, but in many ways I think that hardcore 4Runner owners and real cult followers of this truck kind of like the fact that it doesn't feel quite as put together as some of the other competition that's out there. One thing that isn't going to be quite so forgivable with the 4Runner, particularly if you have a family, is that it didn't receive a top safety pick rating from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety for 2017. It almost seems to go without saying these days that Toyota does really well on the safety front, but this truck received a marginal rating when it came to small front overlap collisions, and it's a really important category of collisions because it's the most common type of crash that we get ourselves into. Another reason why this truck didn't score well when it came to safety with the IIHS is because no matter what trim you choose, the 4Runner doesn't have the option of the Toyota Safety Stance package. This is the kind of package that we're seeing now offered in Toyota vehicles right across the board. Even the baseline Toyota Corolla gives you Toyota Safety Sense, and that's like a what, $14,000, $16,000 car. That gives you things like adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, forward collision mitigation braking. If you're not reacting, the car's going to take over for you. And it's weird that it doesn't have that option here in the 4Runner. I asked Toyota Canada about that. They said that they're committed to putting that package into all of their vehicles. They just haven't gotten there yet with the 4Runner. To be frank, I wasn't expecting much here in the second row of the 4Runner, but I'm really pleasantly surprised. I've got sort of stadium-style seating here, so I am sitting up higher than the front passengers, but I've still got just enough headroom. I'm 6'2". You wouldn't want to be much taller. The nice thing, though, in the 4Runner is that if you are on the taller side, or if you want to, relax for a longer road trip, there's a recline function. I've also got pretty good legroom. Even though I've adjusted the driver's seat for someone my height, I've just got enough legroom back here. My knees are kind of pitched up toward my chin a little bit, which makes it a little less comfortable than some of the other competition. Some of the things that I like back here, other than just the general seating position, are these Softex faux leather seats. Again, I've talked about this before. They're very durable, and we also don't have any perforations that I've complained about in so many other vehicles. It means that they're going to be tough and they're going to be easy to clean, and that's good news for families. It's a pretty basic back seat back here. Other than that, you don't have heated seats here in the second row. You don't have USB charging points, but you do have cigarette lighter points, so you could use one of those adapters and charge your devices back here. The thing I was really pleased about, though, when it comes to the second row is that the 4Runner does accommodate rear-facing car seats pretty well. Based on our new metric of measuring from the back of the front passenger seat cushion up to the glove box, we're looking at about 27 inches. And that's not bad. And it's also a fairly vertical glove box, which means that my legroom is getting tight. My headroom's okay, though. Either way, even as a tall adult, I feel like I'd be okay in this car with rear-facing car seats. And again, that was a surprise to me here in the 4Runner. Well, here's something that's really cool that Toyota's been doing for years now with the 4Runner, and all these years later, we still have it available to us in this vehicle. And that's that if you put your key into this keyhole right here and turn it to the left, this back window slides down. This is on all trims, so that means if you've got the family dog back here like we do right now, hey Pooch, and you want to say hi to her but you don't want her jumping out into traffic, you can use this. If you've got a couple of bags of groceries, yet the trunk is totally full off on a road trip or something, you don't want all that stuff spilling out onto the road, you can use this back window as well. But one thing that bothers me about this feature is that on the key fob you can't control this back window. It would make so much sense because as you approach the vehicle you could put the window down instead of having to fiddle around with the key like this. Once you do get the trunk open, though, you've got 1,300 liters of trunk space here, which is really impressive. It's a nice, usable trunk space. The back seats do fold flat, but it is kind of a bit of a bothersome multi-stage kind of thing that you have to do. Once you do it, though, you have tons of cargo capacity, a nice tall roof, too. One of the things that I like, speaking about hauling larger items, is that the lip here on the trunk is pretty much completely flat. So, again, taller, longer, heavier items are going to be really easy to load in here. And if you are using this as a work vehicle, you've also got a household style 400 watt plug-in point here. Now, as I mentioned, the TRD Off-Road and the TRD Pro package for the 4Runner doesn't offer 7-passenger seating. That third row gets taken out. Toyota Canada's response to why they did that was because the kind of people who are interested in real hardcore off-roading aren't the sort of family set who are going to be buying those trims of this truck. So I can't test the third row with you this week, but I do have a friend who does have the 7-passenger 4Runner, and that third row is definitely more sort of a, use it in a pinch kind of thing. It's pretty tight, but it'll do the trick if you need to throw a couple of kids back there on their way home from soccer practice. Well, the Toyota 4Runner isn't without its lumps. It's not a slam dunk by any means. It's kind of sluggish. The fuel economy's lackluster. That's thanks largely in part to this 5-speed automatic transmission that keeps the revs way up once you get up to highway speed. It is noisy once you get it on the highway. Its interior could use some cleaning up, and a lot of the safety features that we're seeing on the competition aren't even available to you on any trims of this truck. But I still have a soft spot for it, and I think that's largely in part to the, Toyota Land Cruiser that I had growing up as a kid. I loved that thing, and this really shows the progression from Toyota in its 4x4 oriented SUVs, especially when you bounce up into this TRD Pro trim. But if it were me, I think that just because I'm not a real hardcore off-roader, I would probably look at the SR5 trim of this vehicle. It does give you that third row of passenger capacity. It has amazing standard features, and you still get some really excellent off-road capability. Not quite as good as this, but still really good. But I'd like to know what your thoughts are on the 4Runner and how it stacks up to the competition, what you think of this new trim, and whether it's something that you're considering for your family. You can leave a comment below, subscribe while you're at it, and then our full report card on the 4Runner and all of the vehicles that we test is up at familywheels.ca. Until I see you in about 7 days from now, have a great week, and thanks for tuning in.